Good evening. As we come to the end of Module 1, I wanted to be able to just post a general overview of Module 2 so you have a sense of where we're going to go. But before I start that, I want to draw your attention to two things in the threads. At the very bottom of your discussion threads are two that I posted in besides Module 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's also one called Class Cafe. And I want to talk about that for just a second. I want you to use that space as a way of doing two things. Number one, asking general questions that you think maybe the whole class might have. If I'm able to answer your question, maybe I'm answering a variety of people who have the same question. And certainly if you want to ask specific things about your work, then you would do that through an email to me versus putting it out into the cafe. But the idea is that if you're asking the question, maybe multiple people are asking it, and I can maybe answer it in a general way. Or you could ask things about how to cite different things, and your classmates can chime in. The idea is that we're sharing things together, where I'm making general comments to a question for the whole class. The second part of that cafe element is the idea of just sharing things about your personal, professional, and daily life, just so we get a sense of what you're doing. You might be going on a hike, you might be experiencing, traveling, or a milestone with one of your kids. You could even, upload a photo if you wanted. This is just a sense to be able to generate a sense of community as we try to get to know one another, and just connect in that way in this kind of artificial community. We're trying to generate a sense of community as we all kind of work together over the next couple weeks. And certainly only do that if you feel comfortable doing that. But I wanted to be able to have that element for the class. And then one of your peers suggested this, and I thought it was a good idea to be able to have an area where you could share resources beyond the ones that I post up. As you look and explore different questions, and as you maybe look in your county, maybe you found a web link or a resource or an article or a brochure or something that you thought that would be good for the class. And I want you to use this space to be able to share that. The idea is the more we share, the more we grow, and the more we know, and the better we become. Knowledge is power, and it gives us perspective and gives us connections that maybe we didn't have. And so first of all, those two elements, those two pieces are there for you. The cafe, and then an area to share things that you've learned and as you kind of go through this class, and making connections to work you're doing outside the class. And now, for the overview of Part 2. So, essentially what we're kind of working toward in Part 2 is this idea of being case managers. And, what is the skill set that you'll need to be able to be an effective case manager? And one element that you will touch on is this element of conflict and boundaries. You will face conflict, and how do you deal with that? And you'll definitely have this sense of healthy boundaries that you have to establish with the PPW client relationship. And you deal with the same families year in and year out. If you kind of stay in the same assignment, and how do you create those healthy boundaries for you and for the client? And then also looking at this self-care element. And there's a lot of stress, and there's some big moments of stress throughout this job. And why is self-care important, and how do you do that so that you can maintain your sanity and some perspective on what the priorities of your personal life and your work life. And then kind of looking at the elements related to truancy and how do you go about kind of addressing that in a progressive way, and then looking at those procedures as you address attendance issues. And so that's what we're kind of shooting for in this second module. A big part of it is figuring out what is my role within case management and working and supporting and being an advocate for families and students, and also balancing that with your sense and duties of responsibilities as the one who also holds them accountable to the attendance law and any other regulation that you might have within your county. So that's where we're going to go, and I know that there's things posted up on Module 1 for grading, so I'm still working on that, but that's kind of where we're going into Module 2. Thank you for your continued work. Keep the conversations active and ongoing in the modules, and you'll continue to grow. Again, my goal in all of this is to give you experiences that will give you the best sense of what I think you'll be doing as a PPW. And then the deliverable, one last thing, the deliverable in Module 2 is for you to be able to go to court, whether you're going to juvenile court or district court based on what county you're in and how they handle truancy. Ideally, I want you to go to a truancy court, and if you can't go specifically to a truancy court, then go to juvenile court. The sense of that activity, the purpose of that activity is so you have a good sense or a better sense of what court really looks like and how it feels and the flow and kind of your duties and responsibilities within that. So that's where we're going. Have a good evening, and we'll see you in the threads and conversations that we have through Module 2. Okay? Thanks so much.